This is ESBR Boxing. Delighted to be joined by Savage Dan and a very loud, very sunny Barnsley. Dan, good to see you as always. Great atmosphere here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's more like it, isn't it? There's a big turnout. I don't think anyone really realised how big of a draw Callum Simpson was. This is a small example of what it will be like tomorrow night, I guess. But yeah, really good weigh-in, really good turnout. One of the better ones we've done, I feel like. Even Joe Laws and Stephen McKenna quite well behaved. No swearing, no pushing, no shoving. So yeah, very successful weigh-in.
Yeah, there was great atmosphere around. I'm not sure what you saw, but obviously Callum Simpson was on the scales for a long time. Any kind of word on what was happening?
No. It looked to me like he was still 2 pounds inside the weight, but I think the scales were flickering. It seemed to be more of a scale problem than it was a Callum Simpson problem. He was comfortable the whole time, knew he was inside the weight. So yeah, no problems there.
Brilliant. According to the bookmakers, Zach Shelley's quite a big underdog for this fight. These are odds of 3-1 just for him to win the fight. Does that surprise you? Do you have him as the underdog here?
Yeah, I think it's hard to put odds on Zach sometimes because he is so awkward. I'm not really sure how odds makers come up with their odds. I'm not sure what I would have the odds at for this. I wouldn't have it as wide as what they've got it. Zach can be very difficult to fight for even the best fighters, fighters like Anthony Simpson, who you assume are the, most well-schooled, very technical, very sound boxers, still lose to him because he can out-grit you. It's not always just about your technical ability and how many shots you throw. It's about the angles. It's a very hard night's work. So, yeah, I would have them a little bit closer than that. But I think that maybe the Barnsley factor might play a part. The fans, maybe having an effect on judges and how close rounds are scored. So yeah, I would have Callum as the favourite, but I wouldn't have him as a super wide favourite.
Yeah, of course we'll see what happens tomorrow night. Another fight on the undercard, Caroline Dubois, Moneo. Another fight for Caroline. Great to see you in the ring again. I spoke to Johnny Nelson yesterday, who said that he just doesn't see the Katie Taylor fight happening, not necessarily because it's not big enough, but because Katie Taylor just won't fight Caroline Dubois. What do you think can happen with Caroline in the next 12 months? We kind of really want to see her in a really big fight.
I mean, I just think she goes on to win more world titles. She's got an IBO. This is an interim for a WBC. Katie Taylor, this Katie Taylor situation reminds me a little bit of the Calzaghe-Froch one. One is at the very end of their career, can really pick who they fight and get kind of good money anywhere. And then you have, an up-and-coming hungry fighter. And, if I'm totally honest, I think Caroline Dubois now, especially in 12 months or 6 months, I think now she probably beats Katie Taylor. I think we've seen the best Katie Taylor, one of the best women's fighters of all time. She obviously played a huge part in bringing women's boxing to the forefront. But boxing is all about time and momentum, and I think all of that is with Caroline right now. If it happens, great. She's putting herself in the strongest possible position to fight Katie Taylor. But Katie Taylor hasn't been at that weight for a minute now, and things probably point towards her fighting other fighters and just going and collecting world title belts.
Fantastic. See what happens with Caroline tomorrow night. Of course, she's got to get past Moneo. Just before I let you go, Dan, keen to get some predictions ahead of the big card in LA tomorrow night. Terence, Crawford, Madrimov. Can Crawford do it again? He's moving up in weight again. Can he beat Madrimov tomorrow?
Yeah, I think he does. I think he could even force a late stoppage. I think Crawford has shown that weight isn't always necessarily the biggest factor, and also the fact that he can make weights pretty well. People thought he was too small for 147. Now he looks big at 147. 154 is a big push, but Madrimov isn't particularly quick, isn't particularly skillful, and he is as solid as they come. But I don't think it's anything that Crawford hasn't seen before. So I think he might have too much skill for Madrimov. So it'll be an interesting fight, but I do think Crawford can maybe force a late stoppage.
Fantastic. No bench slums in LA at the moment with Martin Bicoli. He's got a big test tomorrow night against the undefeated Jared Anderson. Prediction for that one?
Yeah, I think Bicoli stops him. I called that pretty early. Jared seems confident. I've watched the build-up. I've kept an eye on it. But I do expect Bicoli to maybe... Look, it's easy to seem confident when you're on the scales and when you're just doing all the media stuff and you start getting hit with, it's not 1 or 2 shots, is it? Bicoli don't stop throwing. So I think once he starts gaining momentum in this fight. I'll be interested to see how Anderson deals with it. I know he's unbeaten, and I know he's a top prospect, but I'm not sure if he has what it takes to come out on top against Martin Bakole. So another win for Boxer, hopefully.
Okay, fingers crossed. Final prediction, Andy Ruiz, Israil Miller. I'm really interested to see what you've got to say here.
I really like Andy Ruiz. I think I have him winning this fight. It's a tough fight because Israil Miller is an absolute unit. But I've just always got this thing about Andy Ruiz. I think if he's up for it, he wins fights. And if he gets a little bit complacent, he will lose fights. And I think till now his only loss is still AJ. And he came in a stone heavier when he was supposed to come in a stone lighter and all of that kind of jazz. I think he's still a big player at heavyweight. He needs to get more active, but I think it starts on Saturday night. I think he wins.
Safid, as always, thank you very much for your time.
Brilliant. Thank you, mate. Thanks.
Great. Cheers, mate. Cheers.